promoting a healthy environment. It's the air we breathe. Clean, safe water. Responsible management of our natural resources. We protect and restore for a sustainable future. Environment matters.
We're still projecting that we think the project can be completed by the end of the third quarter in 2016.
Work begins on the removal of contaminated soil from the former Freedom Industries property as the first scoops of what is projected to be 10,000 tons of earth are dug up and hauled away for disposal. Plus,
I think that what we're doing is critically important, not just to Huntington, but to the state of West Virginia.
Participants in a first-of-its-kind partnership in the nation look for ways to focus federal, state, and local environmental resources on underserved communities to make a visible difference. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Environment Matters. I'm Greg Adolphson.
And I'm Kelly Gillenwater. It's been nearly 2 years since a leaking above-ground storage tank at the Freedom Industries site in Charleston spilled thousands of gallons of the chemicals MCHM and PPH into the Elk River, contaminating the water supply for hundreds of thousands of residents in 9 counties for several days. Following the spill, Governor Earl Ray Tomblin ordered all the storage tanks removed from the nearly 5-acre site. Earlier this year, the bankruptcy restructuring team for Freedom Industries finalized a voluntary remediation agreement with the West Virginia DEP. Freedom and its parent company, Chemstream Holdings, agreed to set aside $2.5 million to cover the costs of the cleanup. Now comes the next step in that process, the removal and disposal of tons of contaminated soil from the site.
The DEP's Jake Glantz joins us now with the latest.
Greg, Kelly, the work, which began on December 7th, is already ahead of schedule with nearly 1,400 tons of soil removed from the site. The site on Barlow Drive in Charleston is once again noisy with activity as crews using bulldozers, backhoes, and excavators begin digging up what is expected to be about 10,000 tons of contaminated soil.
They've excavated about 75% of the first shallow area that they wanted to do. They have 6 areas that they've divided the project into altogether. So they've moved on and started on the second and third areas as well. They're waiting for some sample results to come back so they know if they need to dispose of some additional soil that's currently stockpiled, or if it's clean enough that it can be reused to fill the excavations. And they continue to do sampling to make sure that they're removing what needs removed. And they're also doing monitoring in the area to make sure that they're not causing any problems from the vapors from the MCHM or the PPH or any of the other chemicals that were on site from the historic use of the site.
Before Freedom Industries, the site was used as a petroleum bulk storage facility. Pennzoil completed a voluntary remediation of the site in 2004. Core Environmental Services, the environmental contractor for this project, has set up air monitoring equipment to check for levels of MCHM, PPH, and benzene. Excavating all the contaminated soil and replacing it with clean fill material is expected to take about 3 months. Work at the site will periodically raise the characteristic licorice odor of MCHM as the soil is disturbed, but crews are taking precautions to minimize that smell.
Before they put the soil in the trucks, they'll put a liner in the truck, and as they load the truck, when they're finished loading it, they've been adding lime on top of the soil just to reduce the odors as they transport it, and then they put a cover over the truck so that there's not dust blowing off the soil. And then it's being transported directly from the site to the Charleston landfill. And if the odors get too strong for the residents nearby, or at a level that's higher than what's desired, then they would adjust their excavation schedule. They might lime the soil as they are excavating it to try to reduce the odors a little bit. If it's a very windy day, they might not excavate at the time that the wind's blowing in the direction of the residences. Some things to just try to keep those nuisance odors down as much as possible.
Once the excavation is completed, Corps will do additional soil sampling to determine if any contaminants can still be detected, and then backfill the area. The results of this sampling will then help determine the extent of any additional remediation measures that are needed at the site.
There's a little bit more assessment to be done at the site in the areas outside of the excavation area, and we also want to make sure that the stormwater moving across the site now remains uncontaminated after they remove the bad soil. They'll also do a little more assessment of the sediments in the river because that wasn't done previously. And after they get the rest of that data put together, they will develop a risk evaluation, making sure that for future use on the property, workers or visitors would not be exposed to anything that would pose a risk to their health, that the environment is safe, and that there will not be any contamination to the Elk River.
Worker safety protocols require everyone inside the work zone to wear protective gear, and crews actually doing the digging also wear respirators as an added precaution since they spend so much time in close contact with the contaminated soil. The entire remediation project is expected to be completed by late 2016. For Environment Matters, I'm Jake Glantz.
Thanks, Jake. The DEP's voluntary remediation program stems from the West Virginia Legislature's Voluntary Remediation and Redevelopment Act.
The program encourages voluntary cleanups of contaminated sites as well as redevelopments of abandoned and underutilized properties in the hope of counteracting the lack of growth on sites with contamination or perceived contamination. One of those brownfield sites is the former TS&T pottery plant in Chester, which had sat vacant and in dilapidated condition for decades. The Business Development Corporation of the Northern Panhandle bought the property in 2011 and began cleanup. In November, it announced it had received a $2 million loan from the West Virginia Economic Development Authority. The money will be used to begin construction of a 30,000 square foot steel building on the 8.5-acre site, which will be suitable for light industrial use. According to the developers, companies interested in locating there will have the option to lease or purchase the building, which will be designed and built to accommodate future expansion at the site. The City of Huntington is one of 53 communities named to the U.S. EPA's Making a Visible Difference in Communities program.
The program is the EPA's effort to focus on providing better support to communities, especially in environmentally overburdened, underserved, and economically distressed areas where the needs are the greatest. Representatives from federal, state, and local agencies met with business leaders and community members in a day-long revitalization forum held recently at the Civic Arena in downtown Huntington. Making a Visible Difference works by coordinating technical assistance and other resources across EPA programs with states, tribes, and local governments, and with other federal agencies to support communities as they pursue environmental improvements that enhance economic opportunity and quality of life. Among the featured speakers, EPA Region 3 Administrator Sean Garvey.
What I want you thinking about is how do we build on that? What have you learned about something somebody else is doing that can help you in what you're doing? That's the point of today. That's the point of making visible differences in the communities is how do we leverage our resources, how do we leverage our activities to have a bigger, grander outcome. Huntington has great things going on.
Actually, I think that what we're doing is critically important, not just to Huntington, but to the state of West Virginia, because what we'll be able to see, we will learn today how we might be able to partner with federal agencies and help them understand what it is that we're wanting to do. My expectation would be to take this experience and go to other mayors and to other county officials around the state and point out what we have learned. Frankly, we do that, then that's something that can work throughout Appalachia, and in turn, the federal agencies will take this around the country.
One of the City of Huntington's current revitalization efforts is the West End River to Rail project, which seeks to reduce blight, renew streetscapes, and boost a healthy local foods campaign anchored by the Wild Ramp. which was the recipient of a DEP Technical Assistance mini grant a few years ago that helped it get off the ground.
The project also is working to redevelop old warehouses and brownfield sites in the area into spin-off businesses from the Heartland Intermodal Gateway in Wayne County.
And part of that effort is creating quality jobs, which is where the Coalfield Development Corporation, another DEP mini grant recipient from a few years ago, comes in. The morning sun is warming the inside of the new greenhouse at West Edge, the newest addition to a growing number of Coalfield Development Corporation projects. Coalfield Development is a nonprofit community development organization working in Wayne, Lincoln, and Mingo counties, and while it might look like they're growing salad greens, they're actually growing jobs.
Our signature program is our Quality Jobs Initiative. It's a job training program. We hire unemployed young adults. They work what we call a 3, 6, and 33 model. So 3 hours a week, we do life skills coaching. 6 hours a week, our trainees are in the community technical college classroom, and 33 hours a week, they're paid. They work on the job. It's an on-the-job training program. So at the end of their 2 years, they've earned an associate's degree, they've had work experience, and we place them in the private sector to start their career.
West Edge is located in a former industrial plant in Huntington's Westmoreland neighborhood. The 100,000 square foot facility was built in the 1920s and for the next 70 years or so was home to Corbin, a company that made men's suits.
The jobs are offshored in the 90s. The place shut down and it's been empty ever since pretty much, but we came in, we were initially called in, we're a licensed general contractor. We were called in to tear it down. And as we got in the building, we felt like, there's a lot of character. This is a great building. It'd be a shame to see it go down. So we've converted it into a hub. It's a hub for creative people, for artists, for entrepreneurs. And what we have here is the launch of an agricultural training program. It's Refresh Appalachia. And so we're refreshing the local food system, providing fresh local food. We're also refreshing opportunity for young people by creating jobs and educational opportunities for them.
It's a great opportunity. I mean, I come from a place that doesn't have a lot of really great opportunities, so this is kind of like the best of both worlds because we get schooling, we get a associate's degree, a start in as far as furthering my education, and then also get a start with job experience, and that's really important too for me.
In addition to providing paid on-the-job training for unemployed young adults and laid-off coal miners in the creative trades, Coalfield Development also provides training in mineland reclamation and adaptive reuse of historic buildings. Since acquiring the Corbin building, Coalfield Development has poured $500,000 into its renovation.
We appreciate the DEP's partnership, and this is a transformative project. This building, before we bought it, since we've bought it and invested in it, crime in this neighborhood is down 42%. So we don't take the full credit for that, but we know we've been a big part of that. And we've created over 30 jobs since we've started this project, and we're just getting started. So this is what can happen with positive partnership.
Coalfield Development's Reclaim Appalachia program was recently named one of 10 winners of the J.M. Kaplan Fund's inaugural JMK Innovation Prize. The award is a new initiative designed to support organizations and individuals addressing the country's most pressing needs through social sector innovation. For more information on Coalfield Development and its many different projects, including handcrafted, upcycled furniture made from architectural salvage, you can visit their website, coalfielddevelopment.org.
Coming up, New York, London, and Paris might be the centers of high fashion, but when it comes to recycled refashion, Charleston, West Virginia has some pretty creative designs on the catwalk.
We're back after these